person on campus and off campus. So these are people who have been out of college for 15 years. And if you're going to tell me that they should put their education first after 15 to 20 years, they're probably not going to listen to me. Like, I've got 20 years experience in industry. That's old. So to tell them to put their education first because they have to is not going to go very far. So what you're looking at here is what we consider general types of experiences you're going to get no matter who you are. And they are in no particular order based on what we think is important at all. All we're saying is typically, for the students we work with, you'll see their education first because they're actually doing it now, and it is foundational to what they're doing, right? So that's why you do see that first. And typically, your best stuff can often come from internships and hands-on professional experiences. That's why you see that in honors and awards kind of all together up front. But to say that that's how it has to work is not what we promote, right? But so you know it's there. Professional development is you learn how to do it, but you haven't actually applied it in, I don't want to say the real world, I really don't like that word because it's all real. But you know what I mean? Like, you didn't go out and do it in an internship or a job. You learned how to do it. So when I was a teacher, I learned how to write a lesson plan, but I didn't use it for anything. But that was extremely important. So that's why class and these registered student organizations are extremely important, because you're getting training and professional development. Now, through these experiences, you may be also gaining professional experience too. So you kind of have to do the dance between the two. Employment. If you have a job at Subway, don't downplay that stuff. You're going to see why in a sec. There's some people that go, I had a job, I just need to make money, it doesn't matter, they don't care. Yeah, we might not put it up front, but we're going to supplement with it potentially. Volunteer work, certifications and skills. Now notice, once again, we didn't put certification skills on the bottom. It's like, those aren't as important. I'm a teacher, trust me, certification is very important. That's why it says on the side, based on who you are and who the employer is, move it up. So with this group specifically, with your technical skills and certifications you're getting, you're gonna more than likely, yes, move that stuff up to the front, or make it very visible for people to see, I have this certification. I took these courses that you're looking for. I have these technical skills. So consider that based on who you are. And when you go to the career fair, those are some of your dots. When you're in an interview, those are some of your dots. When they ask you a question, you have to pull from your list of experiences. And you'd be surprised at how some of your answers do not even come from school. They don't come from professional experiences. It might come from just a job, because they go, give me an example of a time where you've had a difficult conversation with somebody and you had to work through a problem. You go, well, shoot, that happens all the time at work. Say it. It's okay. Now, if all you did was talk about Subway the whole time, like, so do you know how to use SAP? I know you're a sandwich artist, that's great. But gotta talk about that a little bit. So really do, be ready with everything, because you don't know what types of questions they're gonna ask. We can prepare you with that stuff, but you gotta kind of work in the moment. So on your resume, this is up to you on how you want to move this around, and then you're going to adapt it based on who you're about to apply to. So on your initial resume, I kind of call it your diary, you can actually use these headings exactly, so you can reflect on what you've got. But then when you go to apply to somebody like Ford or whoever, I want you to target your language and move it around based on who they are as well. So that professional experience becomes, software development, or whatever the case may be. Or professional development becomes campus leadership, stuff like that. So any questions on kind of the initial things you're trying to gather before you go into this thing? Okay, if you flip the page to the next one, this is my favorite page. And I think people roll their eyes at me constantly when I show them this page. It's like, seriously, dude? Like, this is obvious. But the problem is it's not. We have heard time and time again from multiple employers, different stories, but the same. One of the reasons we let people go, new hires, is they don't show up to work. Serious? Just don't show up. Not that they come in late, they just don't come in. It's this foundational skill, right? So if you look at the bottom of the triangle here, I think we overplay, or we underplay this piece. And that's why we put it first. What employers need to see, no matter who they are, is somebody who cares about who they are. They want to know that you care about their business, that you care about their industry, that you care about the position you're going to apply to, that you're an ethical person, that you're going to work hard, that you're going to show up, that you're going to go the extra mile. And that really doesn't have anything to do with what your degree is. It has to do with you personally. So when you go to these career fairs, you want to be your genuine self, but you want to really sell home that you're going to be a good employee for them up front. That's what they're looking for. On top of that, transferable skills. Do you communicate well? Are you organized? Can you public speak? Because if you put this project together for us, you're going to have to present it to the team. Are you comfortable with that? Have you ever done that before? Do you answer email on time? And it's funny to me, I've noticed over time, not just students, but people I work with, family, friends, they do not respond well. Their communication isn't the best because they're too busy and they don't get back to me until way too late. And so I sit there and go, wow, even if you were really good at something, I wouldn't have gotten that project back anyways on time. So I need to find somebody else who's organized, communicates well, all those things. And if you look on the bottom of the page, that's the top 10 transferable skills for all industries. This was actually research done by the National Association of Colleges and Employers, who represents all industries. That's the information that came back to them. Number one, communicating with others. So think about that when you put out your resume, when you talk to somebody, that yes, they want to hear your knowledge and the content you're gathering, but they got to know that you can deliver it. They got to know that you can work in their environment in a team setting and that you're going to show up on time. Very important stuff. And then at the top, we are not saying it's not as important. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're trying to say. But what we're saying is if you don't show up, you can't use the computer. Right? So for example, if I just didn't even come in today and didn't present to you, who cares if I know career resources? It doesn't matter. I didn't show up. So usually at the top, we put your technical knowledge, your degree content knowledge, your understanding of the culture and the industry you're getting into. Because if you don't know that at all, then the other stuff, yeah, he's a great guy, but he doesn't know how to do this. We got to find somebody who's got it all. So you're kind of trying to be a well-rounded person, basically, right? So just keep that in consideration, because what happens then, this is going to work itself into your conversations, nonverbal, verbal cues, how you're saying things, what you're saying, providing evidence, basically. Same thing with the resume and whatever you decide to use. Any questions on that? It'll be very interesting, honestly, if you find a position posting, look at it this way and go, where's the fluffy language? The fluffy language is foundational stuff. I've seen a lot of it, trust me. It's kind of up front. Like, we're looking for hard-working, passionate people who, like, of course, why wouldn't you? But yes, it's important. And you'll see a lot of transferable skills in those job postings. So pick them out. Go, T, I've got it. But where did you get it from? Oh, I got that from my job at Subway. I got that from my involvement in that RSO. Oh, I volunteered for it. That should work for that. And then the industry-specific stuff, that's going to come from class. That's going to come from your involvement in this group. That's going to be professional experiences you're gaining. It's all what they're looking for sure. So specifically to your resume, page 15. And I can stick around a little bit today too if you want me to just take a quick glance at what you've got. But once again, that's why I presented all the resources up front. You can go to Reach. You can go to our Fire Career. You can call to schedule an appointment with us. Assistant directors by calling our phone number. It's on the career guide. You can schedule a one-to-one appointment with through Handshake. It's a lot of different resources if we run out of time or if we don't get enough time to look through. But if you look at page 15, this is how we teach resume writing. Basically what we're saying is, okay, you have an overall appearance. Make it look good. Clean, consistent, no clutter. Use the space well. That's the type of language we use because I don't know who's going to walk in the door. And you'll know pretty quick a resume that doesn't have a lot of experience on it because there's a lot of white space. Or you're going to notice a resume that has too much experience, which I don't think that's possible, but because they just try to shove everything in there. So it's your advertisement, so you want it to be clean. And I think a really clean resume, honestly, I don't want to say it's boring. It's because it's basic. It doesn't mean it's boring. It's just traditional. Is on page 17. Because what they've done, it's clean, it's consistent on page 17. I can find the information quickly, right? You don't have to do it this way. All it's saying is, it's just look at it just kind of flows. if you keep turning the pages, you're going to see on page 19, it then is going to give you some different styles. So once again, don't worry about the content. It's just saying, what look do you want to have? The first one, once again, a little bit different than the other one we looked at, but it's a basic traditional. The next one's more modern, contemporary, so maybe like a PR person. Not to say you can't do it either, though. What if you end up working for a company that you feel that look fits better, right? If you keep going, maybe a more technical resume, it's pulling some of those skill sets out to the side so they stand out a little differently. And then a creative resume with a pencil on it. I'm sure we could have done better than that, but you get the idea. One of the sites I really like is called HLOOM, H-L-O-O-M, resume templates, because it breaks it down into genres and styles of resumes, and you can kind of look through and go, all right, what look best fits me and who this employer I'm about to apply to. And you can do that with your conversations. How do I want to present myself to this employer? How should I dress? How should I speak? How should I interact? You can do that in an interview. How am I presenting myself? When you build a website, what tabs am I going to use? What look do I want on this thing? It's all the same. So that's why we teach step one, overall appearance. Because if it's cluttered, and I'm scanning it, and I can't find your certifications, I can't find the things I need, I'm going to probably go, I don't have time for that. And so overall appearance is huge. Your sections and headings, step two, that's going back to the ladder. So on page 15, step 2, what are you going to put first? What are you going to put second? What section are you going to put third, and so on and so forth? All we're telling you is give me your best stuff up front, whatever that is to you and to the person you're about to talk to, and then supplement. So I probably would put Subway first. I'd probably go, here's my education, here's my certifications, here's an internship I had, here's SAP student user group I'm a part of, and this is what I did with them, here's my job at Subway. So by the time you get to the Subway, like, oh cool, they work in, go to school, they balance it out. Plus, I've got all these great campus involvements. Because I would imagine, think about this, what if you end up working for Subway someday on the tech side of it? Wouldn't that actually make you stand out if you worked in a Subway? I'm just being honest. Because somebody goes, why would I put that on there? Domino's Pizza, they call themselves an IT company who happens to make pizza. That's what they told me when I went to their world headquarters in Ann Arbor. I was like, that's interesting, right? And so, when you work there, guess what you have to do within the first few months of even being an employee, no matter what you do? No matter what you do. You have to work in the restaurant in the building. The center of the building has a restaurant, and you have to serve lunch to your colleagues. So you have to know how the machine's work, you have to operate the store itself. That's where I get that one from. Do you know the environment you're working for, even if the front of the environment isn't what you do, but it's what you affect? Think about that. And that's why it's really crucial to organize your information and use it to your advantage based on who you're specifically talking to. So that initial resume is you, but then when you go to apply, it's target. And so with that, like I had said before, you take those titles and go, okay, that was professional experience, and you know that was software development. Target the headings to them specifically so it stands out. And then lastly, bullet points and descriptions. It gives you a nice, easy step on the bottom of page 15, 3 parts. This is an opinion. This is not fact on how to write a sentence. That doesn't exist. This is just a suggestion. But why we suggest is because it gets your information across quickly and efficiently. So what we say is, give me a strong action verb based on what you want to tell me. Is it a foundational skill, transferable skill, or industry-specific skill set? So advised is the one that I've got at the bottom there in green on page 15. Who or what? Students. That's you, right? And why am I doing this? Why am I here? What's the result of this thing that I'm doing? To get you to find a job. So I'm advising students on finding jobs. Pretty bare boned. So you can start with a skeleton sentence. That's what I call it. It's bare boned. Then pump it up though. So if you go down below, there's this exact same sentence with more information. So advised is still there. It's a strong action verb, good one to use. Over 1,000. When you can work numbers and descriptive words, it just pops. So I've done, you say over, it's probably 2,000 now. Undergraduates, I could do undergraduates and graduates. I could do SAP student users. What if I was trying to go for a job at a college of science and technology, let's say at a different school, and I wanted them to very specifically see that I've worked with that group, I could do that. On application materials, career development, search strategies, so that's kind of the how, the extra information, to then help them secure. Notice the difference in the language. Not find, but secure jobs, and it's results driven. So when you go to talk about the projects you've done through SAP or anything that you've done, you're trying to pull out those descriptive words, numbers to make it pop. And then when you talk to them, you can do the exact same thing. It's like, yeah, actually, I've clocked in over blah, blah hours doing this. I've actually developed using, and it will pop. They want a story, and this allows them to get a story quickly. And if you turn to page 16, it gives you a bunch of action verbs you can use. So you're going to see stuff from communication to financial data to research to all technical, assembled, built, calculated, computed, constructed, designed, engineered, maintained, operated, all these things that could be potentially specific to what you do and what you're trying to do down the road. But it will also help you verbally communicate with them as well. Any questions on resume writing? Like I said, there's all different kinds of strategies, but the goal is to get yourself down on paper so you can see it, go, this is what I got to offer, and then target it the best way you can. Some people, after they've gained enough experience, they'll have a summary section up top to say, I've had over 5 years experience doing this. So that could be a strategy. I'm not going to tell you to do it, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. Some people might throw an objective statement up there because they want to kind of incorporate more of a cover letter feel up front saying, this is why I'm interested in your company, these are some of the things to keep your eye on about me, and now here's my resume. Right? It just depends on how you want to present your information. If you have a website, that goes right up top. Learn more at. And it just gives them another outlet to learn about you. Questions? Is that helpful? Makes sense? How long is a good resume? I'm just curious. We always ask this question because it always gets people going.
Got a question back here?
Yes, sir.
I was reading somewhere that if you're applying for a job, let's say an SAP job, you need to put the experiences which are related to the job experience which you're applying for.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that word tailor I was using.
Yep.
Like, so you can start with your initial resume or diary, and then as you find companies, you have to target every single one of them. That's adapting the language. So you use different headings, you move sections around, you highlight different experiences based on who you're talking to. So for example, if you were going to be a tech person for a nonprofit, don't you think they're going to be interested if you've ever volunteered before? That's the change. If you're going to work for Ford, have you ever worked in the auto industry at all? What's your knowledge base in that? You don't have to, of course. We can teach you that stuff. So think about the environment getting to. That's exactly it. Yep.
So how do you incorporate stuff like, for example, if you're a graduate assistant, how do you incorporate such in your resume?
So to me, graduate assistant, you're doing hands-on stuff. That's probably professional experience usually, right? So if you're a graduate assistant and you teach, you call it teaching experience. Because if you think about it, I think most jobs, if not all, at some point you have to talk in front of people a little bit. So teaching can make you stand out. Now, it might not be your top thing that you put up there. Your certifications will probably come first, but then you go, oh, I can also speak in public. Yep. So yeah, or if you're a graduate assistant, like research and something experience. Yeah, you call it what you want based on what you think will stand out to them. Yeah, you got it. And so right now I have 3 different resumes for myself. I have a nonprofit, K through 12 teaching, and higher ed. They're all different. Same types of experiences, but I highlight different things within each. Yes, sir.
I heard that the employers sometimes, like when you submit the resumes online, electronic resumes, so do they choose the resumes based on the software, like get few based on the wordings, choose the resumes and then read them later?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's a great conversation to have based on who do you want to work for, right? So if you work for a large global company that is getting hundreds, maybe thousands of applications, they can't handle it all. They don't have enough people to look at it. So they may put a system in place to nope, yep. And so if you actually go to this HLOOM site, there is a category called ATS optimized, meaning it's built to get through, like, so the margins and stuff don't mess up the system. Yeah, so that's why even if you look in the career guide or when we talk, you have to look at the position description, Find the big themes, find the keywords in the description and translate it to your experiences the best that you can. So if they say, we need this, you go, I have that. We need this, I have something similar to that. You use the words. So like I said, if you go for a job that expects you to have SAP certification and those 3 letters are not anywhere in your resume, well, And what's interesting about this is I have a friend that actually had this happen to them. He is the video board guy for Michigan State Athletics. So when you go to a basketball game, football game, he's the guy making sure all the movies are playing, right? And he helped install like the whole system. So he's got a lot of experience. And so he found a job at Michigan State that he liked better, right? I don't know if I would have done that because I like sitting next to Izzo. That'd be pretty sweet. But he went for another job. And in the job description, it said, you need this technical skill. So let's pretend it's Microsoft Word. And he goes, everybody knows that. Everybody uses that. So he left it off. Because it's obvious. What we didn't think about is if you apply to Michigan State, they're a large organization, it might go through a system. And guess what? It did. And he got kicked out. He didn't even get to eyes. And he was probably the best candidate on them. And they never even knew it. Is that fair? I don't think so. But is it the only way they can do it? Sometimes, yes. So when you apply to a large company, think about the technology behind their process. If you apply to a smaller company, you might be emailing somebody. You don't even have to worry about it. I usually always say that as a PDF, though, to be safe. It takes a picture of it instead of it having a word in it. Yep. Great question. So it's all about environment. Anything else? So how long is a good resume? I'm curious.
1 page.
1 page. Anything else? Anything else? All right. 2 companies came to campus 2 weeks ago. Tech Systems. Have you heard of Tech Systems? Tech Systems and PwC. Another one was the state of Michigan. So we asked that question to the employer panel, hiring managers at each company. PwC, their response. Well, PwC believes in 5 principles, and when we look at your resume, we look at those 5 principles. So if you didn't look at their website and didn't look up what their 5 principles were, you might not get selected. But that's PwC, that's their stuff, right? And she goes, I hate staples. If I see a staple, I cringe, I'm putting it away. But guess what it says on their website when you apply? There is a rule that says 1 page. So whenever it comes to application materials, the employer rule is number 1, always. Whatever they ask you to do, just do it. Right? Just Nike it, just do it. Okay? Horrible joke. Horrible. I apologize. That was a better joke. Okay. So really think about what the employer says. My career coach at Grand Valley said, spice it up, add color. Okay. I spent an hour putting cool boxes on it and lines and blue. Make my E a little bigger, Rick. E, Rick, okay. And I get to Central and go, sweet, career coach position, awesome. Guess what the rule was? No color. When you apply to Central, you cannot have color in your resume. Is it a mess with their system? I don't know. How could she have known that rule? So that's why we say, we don't know this stuff because there's too many rules and regulations. So look at the employer. If they offer rules, you gotta follow them. What if they don't have any rules? They don't tell you to keep it to a page. They don't say anything. They don't have principles. What do you think the answer becomes? If there is no rule.
Traditional.
Maybe traditional, so start basic and then move up, right? Kind of like when you dress, start conservative and then if you want to wear a SpongeBob tie because you're feeling fancy, let it roll. I don't know. Guess what the other company said? Tech Systems. The guy goes, I want to see every single thing that you think is relevant that you've done. All of it. All of it. All the projects. I want to know it. This is coming from a tech background. He goes, I want to see all the projects you've worked on. All of them. I don't care how long you're I don't care. And that's the hiring manager for Tech Systems. So 2 different companies with 2 extremely different perspectives. That's why people get confused. They go, well, what do I do then? What do I do? You have to know the environment you're applying to and then make the call there. That's why if anybody ever tells you your resume has to be a page, it's not true until it's true for an employer. It's not true until it's true when an employer tells you. Now, can you typically fit most of your stuff in a page after school? Yeah, usually you can. But if you are very involved and you're afraid of not being able to show them everything, and they don't have a rule in place, the rule becomes make it relevant. Everything up front needs to be relevant to what they're asking for to the best of your ability, and then supplement. Because what they're going to do is just like a song, a movie, a book, anything you can think of, what do you do when the book is awful? You put it down. If you are sitting there watching Sweet Home Alabama, Reese Witherspoon, you go, this movie's terrible. And you just stop watching. New Star Wars, like, oh, Millennium Falcon, finally it's back. And you keep watching. And somebody else is like, this is stupid. What is this? Right? It's all personal preference, but they're looking for stuff that fits what they're asking for and what they want to see. So give them the best stuff up front. They will continue to read. The joke I've always used is, like, I don't stop at page 750 in a book and call it good. If it's got a good ending and I'm waiting for it, I'm going to keep reading. It's the same thing with the resume. It's the same thing with the website. Any other questions on that? Before we do the tech stuff at the very end, I think we have about 45 minutes. When you get in an interview, this is what we teach as well. This isn't your career guide, because I know we want to talk about interviews a little bit. They're going to ask you all kinds of questions based on this. Some interviews are going to listen to you. Some interviews are going to observe you doing something. Other times they're going to say, hey, you need to work on this project. We'll come back and talk to you in a sec. So it depends on what you're going to do. So I guarantee you that a lot of what you're doing, especially if it's in the tech field, they might actually have you work on something in the interview. That might be part of the process. We're going to interview up front, see what type of person you are. Do you fit? Day 2, you're actually working on some projects that give us an idea if you can do this stuff or not. So think through this type of stuff when you're in an interview. But when you're giving answers, we teach the bar method. I don't know if anybody's ever seen this before. Because at the end of the day, they want a story. I can't tell you how many interviews I've sat in where I go, tell me about yourself. I'm a go-getter. 110%. I love, I care about people. Passion, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, are you a politician? What is this? Give me something, evidence. And so the background is, hey, when I was an assistant director of career services, boom, it's on my resume, you can see it. I gave them enough, just trigger it. When I was in the SAP student users group, I was the vice president. Sweet, good enough. I put on an event with career services where over 50 people showed up and we had a chance to get prepared for the Alpha Kappa Psi Career Fair. Give them enough to go, oh, really, cool, how long were you in the SAP user group? What got you in that initially? What do you hope to do with that eventually? You bait them. Right? And then you answer the question off. Bless you. So you don't want to dance around too much. Just get to the point. Give them what what you think is your best stuff, and then they're going to ask questions off of it, hopefully. So that's usually what we teach for interviews. So now we got your interviews covered, resumes covered. There is cover letter stuff in there. Like I said, there's a whole page on navigating career fair. So before I show you the tech stuff at the very end, any last thoughts? Okay. So if you go to meet the team section here. Go to my name. I just call it Educator Eric. So I have kind of a quick little elevator pitch about myself up front. My resume is right on my website. This is the image I use. I'm trying to show myself off as creative, a little bit more, having some fun. I want to work in a fun, creative environment, so I'm going to try to push that out on my website. And so this kind of shows my education from high school all the way through Central, kind of this idea of growth. I want to stay in Michigan, so I'm not trying to pretend like I don't want to be here. So I put it right on there. Some of the tabs I've used are things that I care about. So what's very interesting about a website, and what you're going to see with LinkedIn in a sec, is a resume you're forced to into a conversation. So you start with that initial resume, and the employer will tell you, or the grad school, hey, this is what we want to talk about. It forces you to change your conversation based on that. When you have a website or your LinkedIn profile, you don't know who's going to look at it. You can't. And you can't change it every day. So you have to decide, who am I? And who do I want to be? And so a lot of my tabs don't reflect employers. They reflect me on what I know I think I want to do as far as industry. So you've got community. So I want to get into nonprofit, maybe someday. Professional educator. I love just teaching, so whatever that means. whatever capacity, content creator, that creativity. Instead of references, I call them mentors because I think that just fits education better. I don't consider people I work with my references. Wherever you click, you can then see some of the things that I've done. So hey, I manage our website. What does that look like? Here's a program we put on called the dating game. It's like, oh, that's creative. How'd that work? So it's how we said, like, this is like dating. It's kind of fun. So it can really help you get to know somebody a lot better. Something to consider, and I can help you build that website and show you some different resources. And all my social media feeds on here. So if I go to LinkedIn, you can get to that, you can get to Facebook, you can get to all those different things. And the reason I want to end with LinkedIn is because at a career fair, this is huge. You can interact with people beforehand, afterwards, connect, develop those relationships. And wherever you see LinkedIn on our website, there's a whole resource center on how to use it. So make sure you utilize that. But the two features I wanted to show you on this, because there's thousands, I wouldn't have time, but I want to show you two to show you how powerful this thing is. Okay? How many people use this daily? Okay, weekly? Monthly? Yearly? The one a year? Employers are trying to find you, and they know that you look at Facebook more than you'll do LinkedIn. So I also suggest not only to be on LinkedIn for this purpose, but use Facebook and Twitter to your advantage to follow companies of interest so that you're getting their most updated information. You can then use that in your conversation at the career fair. You can put that in your cover letter. So Facebook and Twitter have become professional because they're following you there. Because they know that you don't look here sometimes, so they're following you like your parents. Right? Isn't that annoying when your parents get to Facebook? It's like, I'm moving to something else. Twitter. And then where do you move? Snapchat, and there they are, right? Oh my goodness gracious, all right. But the two I want to show you. My network, Find Alumni. You can search for every single Central Michigan alumni in the whole system. I think it's around 80, 90,000 people. And you can now adapt them by any degree that they study. You can actually find SAP users. You can find computer science backgrounds. Anything you want, and it will instantly adapt. Any major city in the world is represented in the system. Extremely powerful. The other one I really like is if you go to Education, Field of Study Explorer, you can now search everybody in the system who studies what you study. So it's pulling from my profile 88,000 higher education professionals that I can now adapt based on whatever I want. So that's why LinkedIn is pretty sweet. Yes, sir?
Would you say a lot of employers look at LinkedIn and use LinkedIn as a tool to hire?
And a great question. And it all comes back to that word of it just depends on preference, right? So one of my buddies, he's a lawyer, right? He does hire people at his work. He thinks LinkedIn is a joke. But that's the type of guy he is, though. He doesn't like to conform to anything, But then you talk to my brother, who's a sales rep at CDW Technology. I don't know if you've heard of CDW. They're just a big technology warehouse. They supply tech to whoever, right? And he goes, that's all I use. Because it's his industry. He's in sales. He's looking for people through that system. And that's why on LinkedIn, sometimes you'll see people, there's actually, when you find a position, you can actually apply with your profile, and that's all you need to do. It goes one click, apply. So yeah, it depends on who you're talking to. I find that a lot of businesses, yes, do use it. Whereas let's say public schools, probably not. But it's changing, it's diversifying. Yep. So once again, just learn your environment, go with what you think is best. But I think there's something in here for everyone. Yep, great question. Anything else? Okay. Well, cool. I appreciate your time, number one. Wish you the best of luck. Know that we are here for you. Our goal is just to help you be successful to the best of our ability. That's when we do our job. So please make sure to utilize this. I'll stick around for a few minutes afterward if everyone wants to talk. Have a wonderful semester.